Barometric pressure drops induce labor. I don't know which one it is there, but soon to be or most recently crested parents or dads. This episode is for you. That's right. We are swapping birthing stories. And just to reiterate just how our wives and women in general are awesome. Right. So if you want to chat about anything we discussed here today, I'm giving you my cell phone number at the end. So be sure to stick around. This is episode number 173 of the W2 Capitalist podcast. Another one coming up this October. He reached out and invited me to come down. And I'm like, man, Gino, I don't like being around a lot of people.
Me neither. I'm an introvert.
I was like, so I don't know. I think it was like the first year they had it. We had our bags packed. It might have been the second year, something like that. He invited me to come over, and I was like, you know what? I just need to go do this because I just need to go do it. Well, next thing you know, and this is like we had 2 kids at the time. Maybe the third one was on the way. And I was going to go by myself. Cassie was going to stay home with the kids and whatnot. And then here comes this hurricane right up into the Gulf. And I want to say the meeting was somewhere around Orlando. We're up in the Panhandle, and I'm telling myself these horror stories of I'm going to get down there. The hurricane's going to shift. It's going to come here. Cassie's going to be stuck. Pregnant Cassie's going to be stuck here with the kids. I'm going to be the worst husband ever, worst father ever. And I just messaged, hey man, I ain't going to be able to make it. There's a storm coming this way. And of course, I think it died out before it.
Plus, like I've heard this a lot, like the barometric pressure can like induce labor.
Huh? I didn't know that.
You never heard that?
No.
We were down here in South Florida, living in our condo, and Trina was pregnant with our first kid, and she was probably 7 months, maybe 7 or maybe even 8. And, there was some big storm. I can't remember the name of it. I want to say Irma, but that might be wrong. And our condo is like less than a mile from the beach, and it was technically like where you should evacuate.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, this condo, like it's a fortress. Like there's no other house of mine I'd rather be in a storm. And we were like, all right, we're gonna ride it out, Yeah. We knew we were on the first floor, but like we knew so many people in there. Like if there was some sort of flood situation, we could just go up a different, up a level. And a friend of ours that lives in the condo was her ex-husband, and they have a kid together, but they're like buddies or whatever. But he was a big writer for the Miami Herald or Sun Sentinel. I think it was Sun Sentinel. And he was stuck there with us, and he needed a story. So he just he literally wrote a story about how she was going to ride this thing out, and that there were so many women who were checking themselves into the hospital who were pregnant because they know about the barometric pressure can induce labor. And Trina was like, yeah, whatever. I mean,
anything happened?
We were going to have our son at home anyways. So and there was an EMT that lived in the complex. So we were like, we'll risk it. And we had so many friends who like went to Tampa or whatever, or somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the ones that went to Tampa got screwed because I think it shifted. And I mean, we still got plenty of wind and rain and bullshit, but it wasn't like a direct hit. And then it just kind of came up and hit Tampa and screwed our friends that went there. But nothing ever happened. We were just hanging out. We lost power for like, I don't know, a day and a half, which definitely sucks for a pregnant woman. I mean, it
Yeah.
sucks for
Anybody, but
anybody,
and
but for
especially
a
the
pregnant
husband
woman,
of the pregnant woman.
right?
uh,
But other than that, like, we were fine. And it was funny because like he wrote the story up and there was pictures of Trina and
that's funny.
whatever. And they posted online and there was like all these people who were like, how dare you,
Oh my
like,
gosh.
how could you like, you are such a horrible, like, it's like, go fucking find
M-
something else to bitch about.
Mind your business.
Mind your business.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And I don't remember how long after that hurricane came. It was probably a couple months afterwards. And we had some scares with all three of them, all three pregnancies. But the third one, we were like leading up like 6 weeks, where they start, the doctor transitions you to like the weekly visit and they do the ultrasound or whatnot. And every time we would go in, um, the baby would be breached. And then the next week it would be in the right position. And then the next week it would be breached. And then the next week it'd be in the right position. So once we got
She
to
was just partying in there, huh?
she was, man, and she's continuing to party. But here I am. We don't have family close by, and
Yeah,
so
we don't
we
either.
we go in for our, I think it was like a 2 o'clock appointment, and just to check, and we've got the other two kids with us, and it's like week 38 or whatnot. And they go in and do the ultrasound, and she's in the right position, and the doctor said, all right, here's what we're going to do. And she looks at Cassie. She goes, we're going to walk you over. We're going to get you admitted. We're going to have a baby today.
Good
And we're
Lord.
like, what? so,
Why?
so I was like, oh, well, it's because it was such a, they didn't want to take the chance of it breaching again. And
Yeah, so
so
you don't know if that's like good news or bad
you
news.
don't. It was a very big, like, hello, we did not
Yeah,
pack a bag. We were not prepared for this. And she's like, well,
yeah.
I've been. This is not y'all's first rodeo. Y'all should know by week 32, you bring a bag with you every time. So they took Cassie back, and me and the kids went home, got what we needed to, and then went back to the hospital. And when we first left, I called my parents, and they live about 6 hours away. And I said, hey, baby's coming. And so they're both retired. They immediately packed an overnight bag and came down, drove right to the hospital, picked up the two youngest kids, and they weren't in the like waiting room. I think for like 30 minutes, and here come out number three. I mean, it was just bang, bang, bang. I was like,
It's always
what
quick.
just happened?
Did they do a C-section or
No. Uh-uh.
as natural?
Yeah. Yeah.
All three were natural.
All three. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's rare these days, really.
It is. It is. She is a trooper. She tried to do the first one without an epidural. And I don't think Satan's ever talked to me before, but when when she was in that kind of pain, it was, stop looking at me. I'm like, whoa, can we get a doctor in here?
That was hard for me too. Just to see her in that pain, and
Yeah.
there's not a goddamn
Nothing you
thing
can
you can do
do.
about it.
Yeah. It's
So
helpless.
the secret, and I don't know if this will get me in trouble, but the secret I used was every time she was in pain, I would just think about like the most effed up thing she, ever did to me, or, bad argument, or, because I mean, if you're a true married couple, I mean, we work together and live together. We butt
Yeah.
heads constantly. So I was just like, okay, I got to find a way to get through this mentally so I can like be here for her.
Yeah.
And and so inside my head, I was just thinking about like fucked up shit that she's done to me in the past, and it helped. It really fucking
That's funny.
helped. I was still like, I knew the difference. It wasn't like push that fucking baby out, you bitch. But like, I just needed that to like
Get
because I
through it.
felt so helpless and I felt so bad for her going through that pain, and I couldn't imagine. I would never could
There's
never imagine me having to push something like
oh,
that through me.
I mean, there's a
Um,
reason why guys don't go through that
oh,
process.
totally. So
Because none
that
of us
that
would be here right now if it were up to us alone.
that was my secret. I I told her about that. I did tell her about that, so she knows that that's what I did. But
It's funny about Cassie. Like after the delivery, after she's like a day or like later, because the first one is when that happened. Um, and here's the thing, right? She says, "Hey, I want to try to do it naturally. I don't want an epidural or whatnot." And when contractions were coming hard and coming fast, she's like, I want the epidural now, right? And they're like, all right, we'll get the anesthesiologist up here and we'll get it done. And then um and it was on a weekend. It was like on a Saturday afternoon or whatnot. It takes them 3 hours to get to our
what?
room. Yeah. Well, and the story was, he goes, I was about to open your door and I got a call for a trauma situation in the emergency room. He said, so I had to turn around and I had to go do that before I could come back up here. And I'm so sorry. He goes, I'm the only one here. My partner called in sick. We can't we can't find a replacement, whatnot. And I'm like, well, maybe on the next one, we won't wait. I don't know. So but after the whole recovery thing, I was like, do you remember like looking at me like Satan would and just like screaming at me? She goes, what are you talking about? She thought I made the whole thing up. Like she had no recollection of that whatsoever, which was wild.
Trina was a warrior, man. Like
Oh
on
yeah. But Cassie
both
too.
of them. I mean, just a fucking trooper. Like after it was both times after it was over, I was like, I'm fucking amazing."
Yeah.
Like our first son we had at home, which I wasn't totally on board with, but it's her freaking body.
Yeah.
You know,
What do you
and
mean had it at home? Not at the hospital? Like you guys had a
not at the
midwife
hospital.
come to your place?
Yep. And she's like, nope, this is the way I want it. This is the
Huh.
way nature intended, or some bullshit. And she was like, I'm having it at home. I'm having a midwife, and and that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And she was in labor for fucking 36 hours
Yeah. Wow.
at home. And finally, and I was like, I had her hand and I was passing out, like, you know,
Yeah.
uh, and the midwife, she was this close to being like, uh, taking us to the hospital to like,
Mm.
induce or whatever. And then Trina was like, I'm going for it. And she fucking popped that little kid out. And the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck like 4 times.
Not good.
And but he was fine, he
Yeah.
came out fine. And I guess maybe that's what took so long to get him out. And she had the baby at the house. But what's funny is with the second one, we actually, like, she still did it naturally, but like she didn't do an epidural or anything, but she did go to the hospital.
Mm.
And like after she had the baby, like all the nurses were like, treating her like, like a goddess,
Yeah.
like, waiting on her hand and feet. Let me go feed the baby. You rest. What do you need? Whatever. Like, I didn't think I was going to get her out of there. and she was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have any more home births. I think I'm gonna go to the hospital. I'm like, all right, sounds good.
So, welcome back, Brody. We're talking about.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I
births.
just jumped in at the perfect moment.
Speaking of that, though, Jeff, when number 2 came along, we got the epidural on time, right? And so I'm sitting there. You know how they sit on the edge of the bed, nurses holding one side. I'm sitting there holding Cassie's hand on the other side. The anesthesiologist is doing their thing, and I'm not seeing anything, right? I mean, like I'm looking this way. I'm looking at Cassie. I'm not looking backwards because the needles just, I kind of freak out about it. And the nurse looks at me and because I'm just sitting here thinking about what's happening right now. There's a needle, like in my mind, is like this long, right? And it's going in her back and it's trying to get on a specific nerve or whatever. Ugh. And I'm sitting there and the nurse looks at me and she goes, sir, are you okay? And I was like
turning white.
I was flushing out, man. I was turning white. And I said, well, I was like, I kind of feel a little lightheaded. And she goes, well, here's what you need to do. You need to go sit down on that couch over there right now, because here's the priority. If you pass out right now, you get to lay in the floor until we're done with her. You are not a priority right here. And I was like, fair enough. And I go sit on the couch. I go sit on the couch over there. They finish with the epidural. Next thing you know, they're bringing me like orange juice and cookies and stuff like this. And Cassie's just laid up in the bed, her arms crossed, like looking at me like, and just shaking her head, just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just, needles freak me out. I can't really.
I don't mind needles, but I can't watch needles go into my arm. I can do IVs, I can do shots, all that. I just can't watch it.
No,
you can do it. All right. So Jay, let me ask you this. Did you watch any of your babies come out?
I was not allowed. I was told don't go below the curtain or whatever they had. From
your wife or the doctor?
From the lady in charge. Yeah.
Your wife?
Yeah.
She's like, don't look at it. Don't
go down there. She goes, I don't. It's going to ruin it. I was like, all right, fair enough.
Well, that was what I thought. Trina was totally fine with me going and looking and thought I should. And I was like, no, I'm going to be up here by your head, holding your hand.
I couldn't. I was up by the shoulders. I could not move. I could not see. It was not allowed to even peek over and look. And there might have been a time where I caught a glimpse, and I'm like, whew, glad I didn't stay in there for that whole thing.
I wanted no part of that because I'd like to enjoy that again one day. And,
yeah.
and if you get like those flashbacks,
yeah, you're like, oh,
you're done. Like, you can't erase that. You can't erase it.
Yeah. Not that we have any kids yet, but I was ruined back in sex ed in high school because part of the curriculum was to watch like a full ass video. Like our parents had to sign off on the thing. This was like 12 years ago now. So like not 12. Sorry.
You're still scarred. Is basically.
I'm still scarred for you're damn right. I'm like, I already know, like, I'm gonna just be there squeezing her hand with my eyes closed just as tight as I'm squeezing her hand. Like,
that's it.
Sounds.
Yeah, Trina tried to get me to watch a bunch of videos of births, and I'm like, no.
No. No.
We watched a similar video, Brody, but I got like 5 minutes into it, and then our teacher said, "All right, Mr. Helms, you get to go out in the hall," because I was over there giggling and laughing, like pointing.
No.
Yeah, I was.
Not you, Jay.
When you leave a review, and I hope you do, don't forget to tell us who you are and leave 5 stars. That's from Dirty Jobs Micro. Listen, guys, if you're interested in exploring any of the products or services that I use to make my real estate investing career easier, or you want to explore joining us in the W2 Capitalist community where you can hang out with guys like myself, Brody, Jamie, and Jeff on a routine basis, there's going to be a link somewhere in the description or comments or something like that, wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. But as promised, if you have any questions whatsoever, or you feel like I can help you in anything we talk about here today on this episode or any of the previous episodes, send me a text. I was going to say, give me a call, but chances are if you're not in my phone book, I'm not going to answer. So send me a text. Let me know what episode you're listening to and how I can potentially help you. We'll find a time to get on a call. Okay. My cell phone number is 205-249-0248.